Welcome back to Crime Besties, to episode 29 of the podcast. How are you going today, Meg?
Getting there. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're here.
We're here.
I've arrived.
Yes.
I think that's a positive.
We're doing very, very well.
Yeah.
I was saying to you this morning, yesterday, I actually threw my neck out turning the toaster on.
Yeah.
So I've got... Shut up, don't
40 is coming to get you.
Turning 40 this year. Turning the toaster on, how bloody ridiculous. But I've got the drugs on board and the nice, guarded movements, but she'll be right. We'll get through. Luckily, we're just podcasting and sitting down and not doing much else.
Oh, it's the worst. I mean, I could list a million of them I've done in the recent years. Getting out of bed and pulling a hammy, washing my hair, muscling my shoulder.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's great fun getting older, isn't it?
Isn't it?
It sucks. I mean, the thing is, you go to the gym regularly. You could do some serious injuries at the gym.
Yeah, but no, it was turning on the toaster. Yeah. Seriously. Anyway, what's been happening with you lately? Where have you been? What have you been doing?
What have we been doing? The weather's getting really good. I've been out in the garden. It's driving me nuts. With the weather we've got at the moment, I literally turn my back and the weeds are back.
I know.
It's driving me mental. So I feel like I'm out there all the time at the moment, trying to keep on that. I think I need to get someone in just to do. I'm so over my garden.
Yeah. Just to give it a good once over.
Yeah. Just get I'm in for paying someone else to do shit like that.
As I get older, the more I'm like, let's just throw money at that situation because I don't have the time, the energy or the patience to actually deal with it.
Yeah.
I'd rather work an extra day and pay for someone to do it than do it myself. Anyway,
I go out there and my kids are one's really helpful. The other one just creates arguments, and complains about every bit of it. So
you only had me so that I could do jobs.
Yes.
Do you remember saying that to your parents as a kid though?
Yeah, exactly.
That we only had you so you could empty the dishwasher of all the dishes that you've created.
And take the bins
totally.
out. Yeah, that's
with all your rubbish in it.
Oh man, trying to get them to do the chores stuff is just a nightmare, isn't it?
It's such a nightmare.
I love it when you've done all the jobs of the night, you've picked up your groceries that you ordered, you spent the time doing that, you've then come home and unpacked it and then cooked dinner and vacuumed some floor, done all these jobs, and then you turn to one of them and say, "Do you mind unpacking the dishwasher?" They're like, "Oh my God, I do everything.
Why do I have to do everything around here?" I'm like, it's actually your job. That's what you get your pocket money for.
Yeah. You agreed to this, remember?
Yeah.
Actually had a conversation.
The whole pocket money thing is motivating for my kids because I'm like, that's fine. I'll just stop your pocket money because we've got an app that we use to give them their pocket money.
Yeah.
And you can do that. You can pause it for a week or whatever, or give them less.
Yeah.
So that is motivating, but what's more motivating is if I say, all right, well then the other child can do it and I'll pay them your pocket money.
Yes, I use that all the time.
Every time.
Yeah. Whenever they're bugging me on something, I'm like, the next time I hear that or next time that happens, your pocket money will be going to the other one for the week. And it's like, no.
That is the worst because not only do they get like double the amount of money then that the other one gets.
That is definitely motivating for sure.
Yeah, that's it.
Love it. The power sometimes is great.
It's great. But yet we're still the little, minions for them running around and doing all the other jobs.
The taxi drivers, etc. For sure. Yeah, it's only going to get worse.
It will get worse. A friend of mine has an older daughter and she was like running around last week or the week before. She'd been to a couple of parties, was picking her up late at night. Oh my God, it's the responsibility shift, that's for sure.
It does.
I don't know how I'm going to stay awake late enough to pick my kids up from parties. That might have to be Peter's job.
You're not a late out at night owl at all. No, whereas I'll be one, late
Maybe
at night.
you
but
can
I'm
do the runner. I'll drop
do the
them off.
Yeah.
You can pick them up.
I'll do the 1 a.m. pickup. That's not an issue. It's just then don't wake me up in the morning.
That's fine. I'll come they won't wake up in the morning.
No, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be all right.
We can all do our teenager sleep-ins.
Yeah. Catch up on everything that's been missed along the way.
Knowing then they'll have some bloody sport they need to be at 8 a.m.
I think as they get older, don't the sports get a bit later?
I hope so.
They'd better.
Yeah.
I've got a few shout outs for today because we have had a lot of engagement on our social media and some of this stuff was from last year, but we've just got a few names of people we'd like to shout out. So we've got Chantel Squires, Samantha Hart, Naomi Eloise, Alicia Marie, Jacinta Henriksen and Carol. So just Carol. So thank you to everybody for commenting and sharing our posts and sharing our podcast to friends and family.
And just the positive feedback too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're happy to take on negative feedback too.
Absolutely.
There just hasn't been any.
Only from my husband.
Yeah, true.
He always has notes at the end of every episode, all constructive, so that's okay.
Yeah.
We're happy to take that on.
Well, we need producer Pete. It's all good.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. He actually said to me the other day, he's like, you've never given me a shout out. I'm like, I'm sure we have.
Yeah, we do. We said thanks to him. We're like, that's all you get, mate.
Thanks, Peter. Yeah. All right, what are we covering today? This is a big one.
It is a huge one this week. So we've already discussed this a little bit this morning of like there is so much to this that we won't go deep dive probably into much of this because we don't want to do two-parters and things like that. And this could most certainly be a two-parter. Well, it could be a series, this particular guy. So, but we will cover it broadly. I guess.
That's exactly right. We're doing sort of a broad strokes take on Robert Durst, the Jinx, today. If you want to know any further in-depth information, there is so much out there. Well, actually, what we were discussing is, for this particular case, when we were researching it, there's a lot of depth in what you can find. There's not a lot of breadth, as in there's not a huge number of podcasts or even like YouTube clips and that kind of thing, or YouTube shows about Robert Durst.
Yeah.
There's the Jinx. There's
which
the
is
movie,
fabulous.
Which is it is so informative.
Yeah.
But for those of you who don't have many multiples of hours to sit there and watch 2 seasons of this, and also like I found, so when I'd watched season 1 before we decided to do this case. I hadn't watched season 2 yet.
Yeah.
So when we decided to cover this, I watched season 2 and then I went back and watched season 1 again.
Right.
And which I only just finished last night. And even doing that, I'd forgotten so much stuff because, and I'm assuming if I watched season 2 again, I'd pick up on things that I'd missed along the way because there's just so many details and it all fits in and locks in together. So please forgive us if there's something that we don't cover because it'll just be due to the fact that we don't have the time to literally cover every single thing for this case.
This guy's he led a life.
He's led a life.
Yeah.
All right. So Robert Allen Durst was born in Scarsdale, New York on the 12th of April in 1943. He's the eldest of 4 children to Seymour and Bernice Durst. So there's Robert as the eldest, and then he's got a brother, Douglas, a sister named Wendy, and a younger brother named Thomas. His mum and dad were married in 1940, and then he was born in 1943. I think his dad was something like 11 or 12 years older than his mum.
Right.
So there was a bit of an age, of an age difference there.
Yeah.
But I mean, do we get into his mum right from the get-go?
Let's start there because I think it starts a lot of this, to be honest.
I do too.
Yeah.
So his mum was... Look, I think the kids grew up in quite an emotionally vacant family.
Yeah.
They were incredibly wealthy. So the Durst family own a real estate empire known as the Durst Organization. They have significant holdings in New York City. So they own a lot of property in New York
top
City.
Top 5, in New York in terms of property, up there with Trump, that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's
the circle that they were in.
Yeah, so the company is worth...
to this day.
Yeah, still to this day.
Yeah.
The company is worth about $8 billion, billion.
Yep.
So they are not short of a penny, and they certainly grew up in a very affluent area, like in an affluent suburb. They were raised by nannies, essentially. There wasn't a lot of involvement from their parents, and it doesn't sound like they were a very close-knit family by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
When Robert was 7 years of age, his mother passed away. So she was aged 32 at the time. The reports at the time in the media were that she fell off the roof of their house, and people sort of accepted that as fact while also knowing that she actually died by suicide. So she suffered from mental illness, and it sounds incredibly tragic, but she has obviously gotten to a point where she felt like this was the only way out.
Yep.
Did you find much about the relationship between Seymour and Bernice? Like, did you see find anything about what their relationship was like?
Not really. And because the bits that I did find were from Seymour or from Robert,
exactly,
that I just don't trust in the information, because then you see other places where that contradicts that, and I don't know who to believe.
There was a neighbour who made a statement at the time saying that there wasn't a lot of affection in the marriage. So I think if you read into that, maybe it doesn't sound like it was a very happy home or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, Robert talked a lot about the fact that he sort of talks about this relationship he had with his mother, which was so beautiful and so loving. But from other perspectives, that's not the case. And not that she was, harsh or anything, but just that there wasn't much of a relationship.
I mean, if she was suffering from suffering mental ill health, she probably didn't have a lot of capacity to
mother
be that.
Yeah.
And then Seymour was a workaholic. Yeah. Completely invested in business and wasn't really present as a father at all.
No.
So after Bernice passed away, they were literally, the kids were literally raised by nannies. Robert's account of that night is that he saw his mum fall or jump off the roof.
Yeah.
Douglas, the second eldest brother, claims that that didn't actually happen at all, and that they were at a neighbour's house that night, and because their mother's behaviour was escalating, they'd sort of been removed from the home.
Right.
And that all four of the children were at this neighbour's house, and they were all together, and none of them witnessed it. So this is just...
But his entire life, Robert Durst swears that his father put him in view of his mother
and made him
watch this happen.
Yeah. So one thing that we need to keep in mind, I think, as we go throughout this is Robert Durst is a pathological liar.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things.
He's a lot of things.
And what I couldn't work out was, okay, so 7 years of age, obviously his mother passing away, however that occurred, that's going to impact someone, 100%. What I was trying to find was what his behaviour was like prior and then after, what there was, because there was differences, but you really can't find. I couldn't find anything.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, was there a significant change at that time for him? But I couldn't find much. The only stuff I could find was that from the siblings, there was comments around that the sibling rivalry, particularly between Douglas and Robert, was there from literally birth of Douglas. It was basically always talked about that rivalry was from get-go. Okay.
And so from the age of 10, Robert was taken to, and Douglas as well, both of them were taken to a psychologist because it was that bad. Like the situation, the relationship between them was not good, and it was physical, violent. It was not great. Robert was also running away a lot, doing lots of other behaviours. So there was a lot going on for him that they took both of them along to a psychologist. And at that time, it was discussed around the fact that Robert was showing signs of schizophrenia and psychopath. So that's interesting that at the age of 10, those things were red flagged around his behaviour, his personality, those sorts of things.
But that would have been potentially trauma informed.
Yes, and that's what I couldn't work out was like if those behaviours were already there prior to or not.
Or whether this significant trauma in his life has
triggered it or not. I'm not sure. But either way, at the age of 10, that stuff was being spoken about as to what he was presenting as. And then what I find interesting of that, then continuing on with this family, there's never any, to the point where they were saying he probably should have been institutionalised, which is what they would do in that era. Not so much what we would do these days, but definitely intervention of sorts, but there was talk about he should have been institutionalised at that point, which he was not.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine I guess we don't know, you don't know what would have happened if that had have taken place, but maybe not all of the things that came to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the 1960s, late 1960s into the early 70s, he attended Lehigh University and then went on to UCLA Berkeley, so the University of California in Berkeley. He was studying economics at the time, and so I've heard him described by peers in his university studies as being quite intelligent but really weird.
Yeah.
So he didn't assimilate into sort of the, you know, the population, or he was just always a bit of an outcast
Unusual.
and a bit odd, and
Yeah.
you know, people knew him because he was odd. Like he was like it was that notable.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a really odd
very
dude.
odd. Yep.
Really, really odd dude. So when he was at UCLA, is that when he decided to study a doctorate, and then he like dropped out right before he finished it?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
what was that about?
Yeah. I don't know, because he wasn't really interested in anything.
No.
Like-
So he was like going through the motions. I mean, he's moved from New York
Yeah.
over to California, escaping maybe some of that family stuff, or like, what do you think that
I think
motivation
underlying
was?
it all, in terms of what he was going to university for, was at the end of the day, the way the family was structured was that the company would be run by the eldest son. That was kind of this inferred inevitability that that's what was going to occur. So I think entitlement stepped in a little bit in terms of like, yeah, I'm at university, but I'm a $1 billion company coming my way. Like, I'll just be running that.
But I think he never wanted it.
But he didn't want it, but he wanted it. Like, as in, we should have just got it.
Yeah.
It wasn't about wanting, it wasn't the fact that, like, his dad, as you say, was a workaholic. He lived for that company. I mean, I find that interesting about people like, you know, billionaires, in that people want to become rich because they can want to live a lifestyle. But then there's people who want to become rich for the fact of being rich and
they just want to be richer.
notoriety. Like, and having that. That's where I think he fitted into that category of like, you know, his dad clearly was a workaholic and wanted this business to operate and function and keep making money, you know, and he had skills to do that. Whereas, I don't know, maybe Robert just sort of thought, you know, I'll just step into that. Like, I'll just do that, but I don't have to work hard to do that, because I'll have a lifestyle. I don't know.
Like unlimited access
to money. Yeah.
There was a quote from Robert about his time at university, and he was basically saying that he was just there to smoke pot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm going to enroll myself in a really expensive college degree, which obviously that wouldn't have been a factor. The money wouldn't have been a factor for him. Like, people take out these hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loans in the US to attend university.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have been a factor for him. So he's just gone there.
That's what you do. You leave school, you go to university. Like, money wasn't an issue.
No.
I'll do what I wish. I'll do what I please. Because
I mean, the fact that he chose an economics degree shows that he obviously...
I was thinking somewhere along the lines of, I guess I need to know that stuff for later on when I run this business.
Dropping out of the doctorate a few months before he was due to complete it, he just didn't finish it.
Yeah, because like, who cares? I am just who I am, and
Yeah. While he was at UCLA, he met a woman by the name of Cathy McCormick. She was a few years younger than him, wasn't she?
Yeah, there was a little bit of an age gap. Not as big as his parents, obviously, but a little bit younger.
Of an age gap.
Yeah.
So was this around his 30th birthday? So this is where the timeline for me gets a bit weird. So he's met her...
1971 he meets her.
Yeah, and they get married in 1973.
Yeah.
So this is around the time that he's dropping out of UCLA, right?
Yeah.
When they get married.
Yes.
Yeah. So at that time, she's working as a dental hygienist.
Yeah, when he meets her, she is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
but it was all very quick going, because he was actually living in Vermont still already.
Yeah.
At that stage. So yeah.
Right.
So he'd been living there for about a year. I think it was 1970. He moved to Vermont. He took over a business that was already operating. That's not. I think people often think that he started this business. He didn't. He bought a business and renamed it to All Good Things. It was a health food store in Vermont. So it was operating well. Like, so it wasn't like he had this genius idea and went in there and did this. So, but still, different lifestyle though to living in the city where his dad was running the Durst family organisation.
And he was just operating a store, like a retail business. It's weird.
I know. He's
why?
Not a people person.
Not at all. But also, what would motivate you? It's not like he needed money.
No, but I think he just didn't want to be in the city.
Yeah, okay. And it gave him something to do every day? Like to show up there? Because he used to go every day.
Yeah.
It's not like he had someone else running it.
Until Cathy came along.
Yeah. And then once Cathy came along, she quit her job as the...
Yeah, well, on their second date, he asked her to move to Vermont, move in with him. And run the store. And, so on the second date, that's
pretty fucking quick.
it's very quick.
She was an absolutely stunning young woman, wasn't
And
she?
impressive.
Oh,
so intelligent.
impressive.
So, she just was she was light up a room kind of person, like really
The most
energetic.
beautiful hair.
Yeah.
And you can see videos of her online if you want to go and have a look. And she's just, I know people say this about the dead all the time, but this is true of her. She was vibrant. Like you could tell she had the light in her eyes.
People enjoyed her company.
Yeah. She looked bronzed and healthy, and she had a glow about her, and she just was loving life. And as you said, she was incredibly intelligent. She could have had her pick of any man, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely.
And she's chosen.
Well, I sort of,
Robert
I don't know that
Durst.
she chose. I think he chose.
Yeah, I think
Personally,
you're right. I think you're right.
There's a personality type, and he went, I'll take that.
Yeah.
And he made sure that that's what, because he had a lot of ways about him that a lot of people say, very charismatic.
I heard someone describe him as like the 3 C's. It was like charismatic, charming, and far out. What was the third C?
Criminal.
I was going to say coercive, but it wasn't coercive. I'll try and think of it while we're talking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bloody hell, yes, he's charismatic.
Yeah.
There's that
he
word
certainly
again.
love bombed her. That's for sure. I think he, gave her everything that.
And she came from a very close-knit family, but they certainly were not well off.
No. They're lovely family.
Lovely
really,
family.
really lovely family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, awful. Yeah. But so they moved in together, were living together from early 1972, I think it was. It was late 71 that they met. By 72 they were living together, and then married in 1973.
Yeah.
Very interestingly, just before they got married, there was a fairly intense conversation that Robert didn't want to have children. That was fairly upsetting for Cathy, but she did agree that their lifestyle was fabulous, and that they could do a lot of things. And I don't know, she thought that maybe he'd eventually change his mind, and mature, and I don't know.
I don't know. He says that he didn't want to have children because he didn't want anyone to turn out like him. So he's made
good.
Yeah, absolutely. But he recognizes that there's something in himself that's not quite right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she did fall pregnant at one point, and this just breaks me, but
awful.
He forced her to have an abortion, and friends say that changed her.
Yeah.
That changed her to her core. Now,
I think it showed his true colours came out then.
Absolutely, because you think, okay, you would do, if you've agreed as a couple not to have a child, okay, that's one thing, but it's not even like when she fell pregnant, it takes 2 people to make a baby.
Yeah.
When she fell pregnant, it wasn't even like there was a discussion, or it was just Bob was like, nope, you've got to get an abortion. I mean, he was a nasty prick sometimes. You can see the in him. I don't think, and she was such a sweet and probably quite passive person.
Yeah.
She probably couldn't stand up to him.
Oh no! Well, have you watched All Good Things, the movie that Andrew Jack?
I have, yeah.
So in that movie, there's a scene where
Kirsten Dunst plays her.
Yeah. So there's a party that they're celebrating Cathy that she's going in the movie. I think it's. I can't remember the name, Catherine, I think, I don't know whatever they named her in the movie. But, so the party's about her going off to do her PhD. And so, but in the movie they depict Robert Durst as, cracking it. He wants to leave the party, and he grabs her by the hair and pulls her out of the party. Now that scene originated, it was from the parents and the family and everyone. They witnessed that occurring. Now, fast forward many, many years where Robert Durst is sitting down with Andrew Jarecki, the director of that movie, and they did a director's cut kind of thing where Robert Durst sat there and they commentated on the movie. And Andrew Jarecki is quoted as saying, that he was feeling very uncomfortable about getting to that scene as to how he would react to that. I mean, you would expect someone to say, well, that's not how that happened. That's the family's perspective, but that's not actually how that happened, and, explain it away. And they got to that scene and watched it, and he turned to Andrew Jarecki and kind of went, oh, well, some people say I grabbed her by the hair. Some people say I pulled a chunk of her hair out. Either way, that's what happened. So he was clearly violent with her, in public.
But the fact that okay, so that's what he's doing in front of her family,
Yeah.
no less.
Yeah.
Imagine what was happening behind closed
Exactly.
doors.
Yeah, that's what I think Andrew Jarecki even in that moment kind of went, oh, whoa. Like, he's not denying that this is the behaviours that he would do, that clearly this is even more than just that one moment. That's not just happened on its own. I mean, other people have commented that they saw Cathy with, cuts, bruises, etc., looking quite dishevelled at times.
Yeah, she'd attended an ED at some point, actually at multiple time points during their marriage, more towards the end of their marriage, where she'd attended ED with like cuts and bruises, contusions on her face. Like, just he was obviously abusing her physically,
but then also financially and emotionally. Yeah.
So, he held all the power, if you think about it in that respect. He held the physical power in the relationship.
Yeah.
He held the financial power.
Yeah.
And, it got to the point where Cathy had kind of had enough.
Yeah, so she was basically upfront in that she wanted to leave the marriage that was not working.
Yeah, so she'd sought legal
she sought legal advice.
Yep.
But so in the end, well, basically for her was, that she was studying, to be a doctor. She was going to wanted to become a paediatrician. I mean, there's good money in that. She was going to be okay in terms of her career. She needed to finish out, obviously, doing that. So what all she really wanted from him was she was asking for of his $65 million, basically, that he had, was $250,000 to walk away from the marriage.
Yeah.
He wouldn't give that to her.
No.
Which I just think, are you fucking serious? Like,
it got to the point where, so Robert Durst, obviously, he had just ongoing legal counsel for whatever. And it got to the point where their lawyers were even arguing over like different pieces of furniture and stuff like that. Because so it actually, it progressed in terms of the mediation of and division of goods. They were quite far down the path, although official divorce proceedings hadn't commenced yet.
Yeah.
He actually, at the point of their divorce, didn't have that $65 million yet, but he had open access though to the family's funds.
Yes.
So he actually potentially had way more than $65 million. So
endless amounts of money.
He had he had almost endless amounts of money, and he just did not want to give her a fucking dime.
No.
She'd been with him for 10 years or so at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 3 months off finishing, or about 3 months off finishing medical school. So she was doing rounds at this time, and all of her professors and her classmates who were going through medical school with her said she was an incredible doctor.
Yeah.
Although she hadn't graduated yet, but she was well on her way to becoming one. She was empathetic, she was kind, she was compassionate, she was incredibly knowledgeable, and she was sort of like top of their class. I think she was doing so well.
Yeah. Yeah, she wasn't just making it. She was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was, I guess, a mature age student at that time too. Yeah. So she had some life experience under her belt, which would have helped things as well, potentially.
Yeah.
And I think I did hear one of her classmates say she was kind of a little bit held a bit of a motherly or an older sister kind of a vibe within their group.
Yeah.
And, was somebody that that her classmates would go to for advice and that kind of thing. So again, that goes to show the type of person that she was.
Yeah.
On the 31st of January in 1982, Cathy disappeared.
Yeah.
And she has never been seen again since. She had planned to meet Robert at their... Well, this is... Okay, let's go from Robert's perspective.
Yep.
He says that he dropped her at a train station to... So they were living in Scarsdale at the time, which was a train ride into Manhattan where she was doing her final rounds. And they had an apartment in Salem, New York, which was, I think, not far from Manhattan. So if she was going in to do her rounds, she'd stay at their apartment in Salem and go to the hospital from there.
Yeah.
Robert says that he dropped her at the train station so she could go to their apartment at Salem and never seen her again.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Supposedly there were witnesses who saw her in Salem at the apartment building, supposedly. Seem to have changed their stories since.
Yes.
The original...
So the doorman... Well, originally the doorman said, no, I didn't see her. Mm-hmm. Then conveniently he said, oh, actually, no, I did.
And now says he didn't.
Now he says he didn't.
And the other witness of seeing her, or not seeing her, was a phone call that supposedly Cathy rang her university, Albert Einstein University, where her medical school was, to say that she was feeling unwell and wouldn't be in that day. Now, the fact of the matter is that medical school is so hard to get into and you work your ass off that the opinion of the professor at the time was that you would be vomiting next to that table before you would leave or not show up for this. It's like it is you just don't not rock up.
Yeah.
You need to be violently ill to not turn up. Whereas she rang in just going, I've got a bit of a stomach bug and so I won't be in today. Now he takes at face value that this phone call, a female voice ringing in saying I'm Cathy, is Cathy.
I think it's been noted since that the terminology that was used, so specifically the person who rang and spoke to the professor, two weird things here.
Yeah.
The first thing was that she rang and spoke to the university, not to the hospital, like the person in charge of the rounds at the hospital, which they said at the time, that was a bit weird. Like you would think she would ring her supervisor at the hospital as opposed to ringing the dean of medicine at the university, even though they knew she was rounding. So anyway, that was a bit odd.
Yep.
The other thing is that the specificity of what the person said, not one person has agreed that Cathy spoke in that way.
Right.
So the person said, I have, and this is verbatim, gastrointestinal discomfort.
Yep.
And everyone has said Cathy would never have said that. She didn't talk like that.
Yeah, right.
If she had an upset stomach, she would have said, I have it would have been a more delicate, I have gastrointestinal discomfort.
Yeah.
And a headache. That was the other thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, pop a fucking Panadol.
Yeah, which is what anyone else would have done. Like literally, they would have had, a very high temperature and, as I say, vomiting literally violently, and still been in there. Like you just didn't not rock up.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and Cathy had not missed a day since prior to that. Like so no record of her going, I have a headache, I'm not coming in. Yeah. It's just not what you did.
And then she didn't rock up for the rest of the week.
Yeah. And never saw her again.
Never.
So basically we've got a story of that she got on a train, came into the city, and that Robert Durst never saw her again from the train station, whereas we have question marks as to whether or not she ever got on that train. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this is back in, it's in the 80s. We don't have the CCTV we have now. We don't have the phone tracking we have now. There's no, it's really hard to prove anything.
Yeah.
And also because of the way that this plays out over the next, 40 years, the passage of time doesn't help either when investigating these things. So,
no.
And we know we can't take on face value what Robert says. And then you're relying on witness testimony that is potentially quite old.
Yeah.
So Robert decided so this is back in, I think it was 5 days or so after she went
took him
missing.
a fair bit because friends and stuff were saying where is she? I haven't seen her. They were all, I think they were actually reporting her missing, even to that degree, going, this is so not right. And the thing is, they all knew that this relationship with Robert was not good and that there was physical violence. So they were all very worried. There'd already been conversations from Cathy saying things like, if something happens to me, it's Robert. They all were her friends, her family were all very aware. So they were already reporting to police going, no, where is she? Where is she? They were very concerned, but it took him a week, I think, to report her missing. It was not an immediate thing by any means that he reported her missing.
And he fronted up to the police station because somebody told him he had to report her missing in person.
Yeah.
He fronted up there and basically said, well, I haven't seen her, but we haven't been talking much and it's not unusual for her not to call me and for me not to call her. So basically do with that what you will.
Whatever.
But he felt like he had to do something because everyone's at him about it.
Yeah, they're all at me.
Yeah. I'll get him off my back. I'll just wander in there and not be helpful to the police whatsoever.
Well, and not be helpful to that. His whole family were very unhelpful in respect to this. I mean, you would think a family with that kind of standing in the community and, and everything and wealth, that to have a family member, which she was still married to him, that you would think that they'd be everyone on the lookout wanting to find this woman. Every police officer, is being
They would
paid
have
to be
so
on the
much
beat
influence. Absolutely.
but they had so much influence it actually went the other way.
Yeah.
To the degree of so their house in Scarsdale was never searched. Neither was the place in Salem, I don't believe.
No. No, the place in Salem was eventually searched, and they
were both eventually searched, but years and years and years down the track.
I think friends went to the apartment in Salem.
Yes.
And found that Cathy's possessions had been thrown
out.
Sorry. No. It was the superintendent of the building.
Yep.
He was not going through the trash, but he was emptying or taking bins out or something. And he noticed all of these personal items in the rubbish chute bins.
Yep.
And it was all turned out. It was all Cathy's possessions.
Yeah.
All of them.
Insane. So this was kind of there was a little bit of a ramp up in the media around this happening, and this is kind of where I guess publicly we meet Susan Berman really in terms of linked to Robert Durst. They'd been friends for many years already. They met in university, but he points basically Susan Berman as the official spokesperson for the family in regards to Cathy's disappearance.
She announces a $100,000 reward that Robert has personally put up from his own estate.
Yep.
That then very quickly got reduced to $15,000.
Yeah.
What the hell?
It's insane.
You're a billionaire.
Yeah.
And your wife has gone missing. Mm-hmm. Even $100,000 seems pretty inadequate to me.
Ridiculous. That's not enough. I mean, we're talking
$15,000.
Yeah.
How fucking insulting.
To reduce it. You would increase it when you haven't got news. He reduced it when people started actually looking for things.
Yeah.
He went, no.
Shit. No, we don't want this.
We don't want anyone finding anything.
Yeah.
I mean, red flags all over the show. So Susan Berman, just who she was basically, she was the daughter of a known gangster who owned a casino in Las Vegas and was an author.
And she was an author, not a very good or successful author.
Yeah. So she wrote a book about being raised by, a gangster, a mobster,
Yep.
Who her dad did pass away, and so did her mum. So Robert Durst and her had bonded over that fact of that they both had lost their mums at quite young ages, and that her dad and his dad were very interesting people, but weren't really parts of their lives in different ways. And she lost her dad as well, although she loved her dad to odd degree almost. She was. I think she was very proud of the fact that he was a mobster, and
some of the interviews where she talks about him, it's a bit off.
It's
actually
really odd, isn't it? Yeah.
She was an orphan by the time she was 12. So then I sort of think as well the trauma that she has suffered at such a critical age.
Yeah.
Obviously that's further informed her life and how that kind of went along. But so her dad would have been very, very well off. Part being, I think he was a 50% owner in a casino.
Yeah.
But then did she never get any of that money? Because she was certainly not well
probably,
off.
was it
dirty money.
Of crime. So
right.
I dare say it probably wasn't any money as much as he...
But casinos are legit. Or was this an illegitimate casino?
I dare say there was a bit of money being laundered through it. So I don't know. How do you separate the two?
Yeah, fair call.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure where that all... Yeah, it's really hard to know. But she certainly struggled. And I think, obviously Robert helped her out financially. There's no question about that. I mean, that's fairly public that regularly he gave her money. So she wasn't living a very high life or anything.
No. Their relationship is described as being best friends. I don't think they had a sexual relationship.
No.
I genuinely think it was almost like a brotherly, sisterly.
Yeah. Well, even at this point,
type thing.
when Cathy went missing, he was actually dating Mia Farrow's sister.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
didn't
absolutely in love
that.
with her.
Yeah.
So they were so close that Robert Durst actually walked Susan Berman down the aisle when she got married.
Right.
They were, it just goes to show they were very involved in one another's lives, but it was a platonic friendship.
Yeah, but
that lasted.
Yeah, and very loyal friendship, I dare say.
Yes.
Yes.
She, as you said, she got money from him. She borrowed money that was never paid back. And,
Yeah.
and it was never a contentious issue within their friendship, I don't think. Like,
No. Well, I mean, it was this stupid amount of money that he had, like to, throw
but
50
I feel like
50
money
grand to
was
someone.
an issue for him and Cathy, but it
Yeah.
wasn't an issue for him and Susan.
No, but again, it's a very different relationship, isn't it?
Very.
Yeah.
It's
What he's getting out of that and what she's getting out of that. And
the control of it all too. He didn't need to control
no,
Susan
well, he didn't
financially.
he didn't need to control Susan because she was loyal to the nth degree, and that was what
Absolutely.
her lifestyle growing up. That's what her parents' relationship was. He picked someone very much who was going to stick by him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how
she
mobsters
was,
live.
she
It
was
like,
vulnerable,
yeah.
and she found security and solace in the friendship with Robert Durst. The money couldn't have hurt either.
Oh God, no. I mean, I'm sure that talked for her. That was definitely.
I can't imagine he would have had any relationships with anyone if he wasn't filthy rich.
Or if he wasn't benefiting from it in some way, whether that be that I don't know, that he just feeds off people in terms of that, doesn't he?
He's the weirdest little dude.
Oh God, yeah, yeah.
Fucking weird.
I have watching like the Jinx. It cracks me up, some of those the tapes and stuff they recorded, particularly in the second series where he's older again. And it was funny. I was watching that and my oldest came downstairs, and I went, oh God, no, have to do that quite often with them. Pause. Oh my God, don't let them watch these sorts of things that I watch. And but as I went to hit pause, it was him answering one of the calls. Bob. And he absolutely lost it. I had to rewind it and replay just that section from over and over again because he was absolutely wetting himself going, who is this guy?
I know. So last night I was telling Peter about this and I said, it's been replaying in my head all night where he rings his own voicemail service, which we will get to in a minute because that is actually a pivotal point in the story.
Yeah.
But he rings his own phone answering service and it's like, you have reached the mailbox of Bob. It's so funny.
Classic. And I love that because there's these twins in that second one that are
they're great.
they are like gold.
Yeah.
And so they do all like the shit kicker job basically for the prosecution.
They're like baby lawyers.
I love it.
think.
Like,
yeah.
oh God, I hope they never change.
Yeah.
There's twins and they just like go, when we needed a little bit of a pick me up on like to try and get through some hard nights, we'd sit through and listen to the tapes because they just love listening to Bob's conversations and stuff. And they're like,
Bob. He's a bloody weirdo.
But
All right.
he is very weird. Very, very,
Very
strange
strange
man.
dude. Very, very
Yes.
strange.
So, at the moment, I will just keep moving through the timeline because we'll come back to Susan Berman. Yeah?
Oh, we will absolutely come back to Susan
So
Berman.
at this point, obviously, Cathy's missing. No one's looking for her. It's been squashed in the media, really, by the Durst family. The McCormicks, Cathy's family, are desperate to try and find her and keep trying, but no one is helping. In 1988, Bob meets a person by the name of Deborah Lee Sheraton, who eventually becomes his second wife. She's a very interesting character.
So if you guys want to know more about her and her just general demeanour, go and watch the deposition tapes that she has done, when this goes to trial or prior to this going to trial. She's a very, very interesting woman.
Oh, yeah. So she ran her own... She was like she started her own female-only realty company in New York. Did very well for herself in that. It was a market that was needed at the time. She really got onto it in the 80s where, girl boss was really sort of kicking off. And, so you go to an all-female realty company and have, that feminine touch to buy your realty. So but apparently she was a total piece of shit. And
she's an asshole.
Yeah. So people who worked for her, they ended up suing her and stuff because she was just awful. She was, taking money off people that she shouldn't have, all sorts of things. So she's much of a piece of shit, I think, as Robert Durst. But oddly, with their very odd relationship, so they got married, and even in her deposition, she talks about the way that they got married was they got married because he asked her.
Yeah, I've literally written down that quote. The prosecutor says to her, "Why did you marry Mr. Durst?" And she goes, literally breathes in. She's like, "Because he asked." It was just
asking?
just no, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if just some rando comes up and says, "Do you want to marry?" Yeah, sure. I'll marry you.
But this marriage of convenience,
absolutely
very
a
much
marriage of
so,
convenience.
because I think it was within a day or so of their marriage Like, so literally they've gone to they haven't gone and had a wedding. There's not a wedding. They got married, like as in like.
They were a rabbi married them.
Yeah.
At a place designated by the rabbi. Like it was just like not even a hotel room. It was like an office building.
An office of some sort.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't a wedding. There was the witnesses they needed. That's all that was there.
It, yeah. And
completely.
she was wearing like a yellow suit. Like it's not, there was nothing wedding-y about it.
It wasn't a marriage for love. That is for sure. And I think, and she says that.
Yeah.
Outright.
Yeah. They don't even kiss when they get married. Have you seen the video?
No, because at the end of the day, they got married because then spousal privilege applies because they knew stuff about each other that then they couldn't be asked about in court.
Very interestingly, they got married on the 11th of December in 2000. And what happened on the 12th of December 2000?
Oh, what?
So they got married literally a day before
Yeah.
So they got married a day before.
Yes, sorry.
She was then going to be, what's the word? Deposed.
Yeah, yes.
So, that timing's quite curious, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the thing that applied then was the fact that anything that she knew prior to them actually getting married was admissible.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Anything after that, which was like a day or two. I don't know if it was exactly the 12th, but it was very close to when they got married. Anything post that, okay, yes, spousal privilege applies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. That's correct. Yeah.
So, okay, what was the point in that then?
I don't know. Like, it's so bizarre. Like, they know what they were doing. They knew what they were doing legally.
Yeah.
100%.
She was basically an adverse witness. So she, on advice of counsel, didn't answer a lot of questions. Any questions she did answer, she forgot a lot of things.
Yeah.
She didn't answer questions wholly. So she would give part information. She threw things off in the way she answered certain things. It contradicted other testimony that either she had already given or that Robert or Bob had already given.
Yeah.
She called him Bobby, which yuck.
So did Susan Berman.
I know. Yuck.
So, because going back to her slightly, at this time, this is when basically they started opening up Cathy's case again, like in 1999. And so what Bobby knew was that someone was going to spill the beans. There was like talk that the cops were going to meet with someone and talk with them who was going to give some really strong evidence. And Robert Durst knew that was Susan Berman. So that's just playing in the background.
Yeah, okay. So this is bringing that back around to Susan Berman, right?
Yeah.
So Susan Berman was found dead in her home in Benedict Canyon in LA in December of 2000, right?
Yeah.
This happened, I think it was 5 days after the LA County PD have come out and said that the New York City PD, sorry, came out and said they are going to reinvestigate the death or suspected death of Cathy McCormick Durst.
Yep.
The only person who Bob could think of because I think they openly said in that press conference, we have witnesses who are now willing to come forward.
Yeah.
The only thing that he's thinking is, oh my God, Susan Berman's the only one who knows anything about it because she's fucking the one who rang the Dean of Medicine at bloody Albert Einstein University. She knows everything.
Him. She knows everything about him. And to this point has been loyal.
Yeah, she's been loyal, but he's also like
been
the police
giving her
also
money.
found, he's paid her like
even
chunks
just
of money.
At the so in August of 2000 he paid her 2 checks worth $25,000.
But he also had given her a check for $300,000
Yeah.
15 years before that.
Yeah, but so still though he's still paying her money like up right up to this point. So, this is so December 11 he's got married to this Sheridan. He's on December 19 he flies to San Francisco. So California, but San Francisco.
Yes.
Susan Berman lives in LA. So long distance between. And this is where it kind of gets...
it's a drivable distance.
It's a totally drivable distance. Done it.
Now, just real quick.
Yeah.
He rocks up to the airport on that day,
Yeah.
10 p.m. at night,
Yeah.
books a red-eye flight and flies. He has a few things to note here. He's never flown red-eye before, and he's been quoted as saying, I never fly red-eye. Mm-hmm. He always plans his travel in advance. He's got a travel person who works, I guess, for him, who organises all that for him. He literally rocked up at the airport and bought the ticket at
Himself.
the time.
Yeah, which he just doesn't do.
In his own name, fuckwit. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
But basically, so on December 23rd, though, actually December 24th, Susan Berman's body is found in her house in LA, in Beverly Hills. A note at that time is also sent to the police department, addressed to the Beverly Hills Police Department with one word of cadaver.
Cadaver, yeah.
Yeah.
It just
and
says
the address of Susan Berman's house. Yeah. So it's
so basically the envelope that he's posted, so he has posted this envelope. It has a stamp on it, and the stamp is interesting, but all that it is addressed to is Beverly, Beverley. That's not actually how you spell Beverly. There is no E in it.
No E at the end.
At the end. Beverly Hills Police.
Yeah.
They received this letter. I think it takes a day, like it's postmarked a day later when they receive it.
Yeah.
They open up the letter and all it says is, what is it, 15-something Benedict Canyon Road or Benedict Canyon something.
Yeah.
Cadaver.
Yeah.
So the police then go, fuck, we need to go to this address and see what's going on, at least investigate it. It's weird.
Yeah.
They arrive there.
Find.
But also in the interim, Susan Berman's neighbour suspects something's going on because she finds her dogs in the apparently that is quite a busy road.
Yeah, right.
And she finds the dogs on the street and thinks, oh, that's really bloody weird. And she goes to take the dogs back inside and she notices that Susan's back door is open, which she never left her door open.
Yeah.
But the neighbour didn't know her well enough to go inside or anything like that. So she's taken the dogs in. And then the next day, she's like, I still haven't seen Susan. That's really weird. And I think she reported it to the police.
She'd already reported it too. Yeah.
So they had a couple of, I don't even know if those two pieces of information ended up coming together.
Yeah.
But they've acted on that anyway and gone and found her deceased in her, I think she was in her kitchen.
I think a bedroom was where the body was.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, but it was very much an executionish style. It was just one gunshot to the head.
Point blank range to the back of her head. Yeah. So what's inferred by the prosecution once this eventually all comes out is that she was comfortable with the person who executed her because she's turned her back to them.
Yeah.
If she was feeling threatened, there is no way she would have turned and walked back to the person.
And there was no forced entry. It was, she'd let this person in potentially or they arrived before her. Like, because Robert did have a key. Yeah. Yes.
He was paying the rent on that house, I think.
Yeah. So basically, that's occurred and this sort of ramps up quite quickly because, he's linked to her very much so anyway. But to escape any media attention, in April of the following year of 2001, he moves to Galveston, Texas, where he...
This is so fucking weird.
Where he dresses as a woman who is a mute...
Well, because he couldn't disguise his voice, he said.
No.
He couldn't do a woman's voice.
Oh,
because he does have quite a deep voice. Like
he's very
like it's a weird. His voice is weird, but I can imagine he couldn't make it feminine.
No, but anyway, so he doesn't dress as a woman well either. Like I don't think I think as it's come out later on, everyone knew he wasn't really a woman.
Yeah,
It was just...
But I think people kind of took it as, okay, maybe he's exploring dressing as a woman potentially. And I mean, if he is actually mute, I don't know, people aren't approaching you and talking to you, are they, really?
No.
Or talking to you about it, which is what he wanted. So he went by the name of Dorothy Siner. So he's gone to Galveston. He's rented a shit apartment.
Oh, it's horrible.
For somebody who is so well off, he obviously wanted to be flying under the radar because this apartment, I mean, it looked... Have you seen photos of it?
Yeah.
It looks filthy. Oh, yuck. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And it's in a really shit part of the...
Oh, it's bad. Bad.
it's in the ghetto.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a nice area at all.
No.
He was very much in hiding. Like, he's very clearly hiding.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, but then by September 30th in 2001, a family is fishing in Galveston and discover a dismembered torso floating just off the beach. And police go and pull it out, but they also then find other body parts
Wrapped in
up.
plastic bags.
Wrapped in plastic bags. It's really horrible. So they find every part of the body except for the head. So all arms and legs and the torso are found in that. The body parts were wrapped in garbage bags, like legit, like garbage bags, as in there were other items in those bags. In one of the bags, they happened to find like a newspaper that had an address on it of where that newspaper had been delivered to. Lo and behold, they go to that address and find that there was a guy living there by the name of Morris Black, and next door neighbour is this female mute,
Dorothy Signer.
So they then very quickly discover that that's Robert Durst. This person, they said this person was due to pick up some glasses at somewhere. So they were like, well, if this person rocks up, we'll come down and meet them. So they got the optometrist to send them a bit of a message if this person did rock up to actually pick their glasses up. And lo and behold, Dorothy turns up to collect the glasses. So they get onto the phone and contact the police, and down they come and have a chat. To discover that it's Robert Durst that is
wanted
wanted to be spoken to on a number of things. So then they pull him in for a chat and everything, and I love that they basically fairly quickly arrest him for this. So they put up a $250,000 bond, which at this time they don't actually realise who Robert Durst is. I mean, New York to Galveston in Texas, they don't know who this is. They haven't put that together yet. They just know that this is a person
and
who...
they're looking at where he's living, and they're like, he lives in an absolute dive.
Yeah.
His clothes were really gross and grotty.
And he's dressing as a woman.
Like, things are all
it's all whack.
Strange here. But they're like, oh, you've posted bail. Do you have $250,000? And he goes, not on me. And they're like, oh, fuck, whatever.
Pays it.
He posts the bail, of course, because he's got access to...
Endless
amounts of money. Actually, what's probably worth noting is that in the 90s, Douglas took over the business because obviously Robert was not equipped to be able to
which
do
he was
so.
Pissed about.
He did not like that. Even though he didn't really want it, he wanted the money.
And
he wanted the notoriety and he wanted all of that. So he ended up suing the Durst organisation.
Yes.
And in 2006, they settled for... Oh, no, sorry. Was that in 2006 or in 2000? In the 90s.
I can't remember.
I think it was in the 90s. They settled for $65 million. So he did have still an incredibly large amount of
plenty of
money. More than he would ever need.
Yeah.
His brother actually said at the end of that settlement, he's like, I just felt like he was going to kill me.
Yeah, no, he had bodyguards.
Security, he hired.
Very scared of him. His younger brother says the same thing. They were very, very wary of him and afraid of him. Yeah. And they're not afraid to say that. That don't trust him. No.
Yeah, it's on the record.
Which I wouldn't either. I think they had every right to, but still they could have done a whole lot more. Yeah. So anyway, he's
gone on the run. He's posted bail, and Robert has posted bail, and he's gone on the run.
And again, gone and got a mask.
Oh, that mask is so freaky.
Isn't that creepy?
So he's bought this latex mask, which apparently they are so expensive. I mean, again, money's no issue.
Yeah.
But it's actually, I mean, you look at it and, I mean, have you seen the photo of it on the table? And it's all collapsed in on itself. It looks really weird. But then when they actually put it on a mannequin head, it actually looks
legit.
Very realistic.
Yeah.
Like it's got real hair.
Yeah. He shaved all of his own hair off, including his eyebrows.
Yeah.
And I love it when he talks about this, like, to Andrew Jarecki. Well, he goes, like, because he was like, why'd you shave your eyebrows out? And he goes, well, then I wouldn't look like me. That's weird to do that. Yeah. You know, he's trying to tell someone that don't you think that's weird to do that?
Yeah.
Like, yes, we all think you're weird.
You're really fucking weird.
Oh, man.
So he's actually gone on the run to Pennsylvania. Ended up in Pennsylvania. Yep. I don't know why, but that's where he's gone. And the fucking idiot is arrested at a 7-Eleven type shop for shoplifting cigarettes, chewing gum and a chicken sandwich.
The $65 million money, the amount of money he has. And that's
he
what he does.
even says in one of his depositions, he even says, he's like, I don't know why I did that. That was so stupid.
This is where I just go, there's a real something wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
there's something wrong here.
Yeah, he wanted to get caught. Like, it's like, I think, to be honest, I think he did. I think he wanted to get caught. He was like, oh, I'm over this. Because he wants all the people
fanfare around him.
Yeah, he wanted all this. He was loving that court hearing. He was loving all of that.
Yeah.
I think that was all. I think screw loose, big time.
Massively so. So obviously now he's up for. So they've caught him in Pennsylvania. They've figured out who he is, how he ties into the murder of Morris Black.
Yeah.
So we haven't actually spoken about
murder him.
Sorry. He is wanted over the murder of.
Yeah.
So his story is that Morris knew stuff.
Yeah, well, according to Robert Durst, they were best friends. They were neighbours and became best friends. I don't know about that.
I don't know about that either.
No.
But by all accounts, Morris knew that he wasn't Dorothy.
They'd got friendly.
They'd been friendly enough that and there was evidence that Morris had spent time in Durst's apartment.
Yes.
So there were items with his DNA on them, like drink cans and that kind of thing. So we know they had spent time with one another. In what capacity, we don't really know. We've obviously only got Robert's side of the story.
And look, and Morris Black, we don't know a lot about him. He was a grifter. He didn't have family. He was hiding away too. He wasn't like someone who had family who was missing him or any of that. And like, it's sad.
So Bob says that he came over, Black found a gun was it in his chest of drawers or something?
I think so.
Or in the bathroom drawers, I think it was, or something like that. And then there was a struggle over the gun went off and, lo and behold, he was shot.
Yeah.
In his head.
Accidentally. Yeah.
Interesting that the head never showed up again.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
So the police can't say, angle of bullet, whether it was another execution style murder.
Yeah, you can't tell where that bullet went through.
And to this day, the head's never been found.
No, and to be honest, like that bit of evidence, the head is the biggest bit of evidence that would prove probably what went on.
Yeah.
So what's basically been spoken about too is that when all these bags and everything have come up into the shore, you can see on the bags where the one's particularly has been ripped open. And there's a thought process of that maybe as he's tried to get rid of these body parts, because he's admitted to that. So he admits to the fact that he cut these body parts up and disposed of them. That when maybe that happened, maybe he started realizing they weren't sinking to the bottom as he expected. So then he's gone, oh crap, the head's got all the information, and so he's pieced open one of the bags and pulled that out and taken it somewhere else and went kind of gone, oh yeah, those body parts they'll rock up and no one will work out who that is, but the head, that'll get me.
Identify him, yeah.
Yeah.
Little did he didn't think that all of the other trash within those bags
that never entered his brain.
Never.
I don't know that he's that unhappy to be caught for these things, to be really honest.
Yeah, I think, I mean, for somebody, so he's had the wherewithal to go, I need to get rid of the head, but not thought to better hide the other body parts. I think you're right. I think that shows that he is...
I think he thought he was more intelligent than everyone else.
Oh, for sure.
And that, as long as I've got this major bit, I'll be sweet.
Yeah.
The rest of it, that'll sort itself out. Which in ways it did.
Yeah.
He managed to go through that trial, and I mean, when they came into the apartment and they found, that there was blood on the floor and there was cut marks in the vinyl floor, and then they ripped that up to find the massive amount of blood underneath. I can't imagine who can cut a body up like that. What it would take to just do that. It floors me. That is non-human.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. And if it actually was an accidental thing, you think... I mean, I know he was hiding. He couldn't call the police and say,
but still,
but maybe leave him there.
Leave him there and say he came into my apartment, and
or leave him there and fuck off.
Yeah.
You've got the means to get out of there.
Yes, exactly.
It's
hide again.
hide again. Go somewhere else.
Yeah.
He's just made really
it's a
fucking
whole
poor
nother
decision.
level of inhumane
Yeah.
to cut a body up
I
and
agree.
dispose of it like it's
Like
just
it's
trash.
Yeah.
I just, that's where I just kind of go, well, no, there was purpose to this. There was intent there. There
Yeah.
was, it changed. Whereas, so somehow though, the jury in Galveston found him not guilty of murder. And because the way that their law worked, the dismembering of the body became not a problem. Wasn't.
Well, I think because they couldn't convict him of the murder, there was no charge that they could
no
put to
charge.
him for the dismemberment of the body. I think that's changed now though because of this.
Yeah, well, surely.
Like it's like interference with a corpse or something like that. But
There was no
they
charge
didn't
for
have
that.
a charge
Like,
for that
yeah,
at the time.
yeah.
So he got off fucking scot-free.
No, yeah. Insane that he got away with that. So yeah,
Even he says at the end of that trial, he's like, I can't believe I got away with that.
crazy.
Not in those words exactly, but he admits that he thought he wouldn't get out of it.
Yeah, insane.
Crazy.
So basically, so at the end of all this trial and everything is sort of where we end up, I guess, like with the Jinx too. That in the end of the first season, where we get to the end of that first season, and so he's been acquitted of killing Morris Black, and kind of like, you're like, well, it's quite possibly he's killed another 2 people in this, and he's also got away with this third one. Holy shit! Like, this piece of crap is going to live his life fancy free
Yep.
with this. And we get to the end of the Jinx first season, and there's that little bit of audio where they've finished filming for the day and talking to him and putting to him about, there was one little bit of evidence they've put to him was the cadaver note, matching up that with another letter that he had sent to Susan Berman, and matching up that he misspelt Beverly on another envelope as well as the cadaver note, which is gem of little bit of snippet there to kind of put him on the spot and go, hey, we think we might have you here a bit. But I mean,
Like
handwriting
experts, like it looks identical.
Yeah, but
like
it's
written
yeah.
He's written the same address, 1527 Benedict Canyon,
Beverly Hills, with the same spelling mistake.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Same block letters, same whatever.
yeah.
Yep.
And then so put that to him, but they've finished filming for the day and they're kind of like, what else can we do? Like, now we just turn it over to the cops, whatever. Do you know a full year went by?
Yeah.
A full year went by before anyone
So-
discovered there was more audio.
Yeah, so what they were saying is at the end of recording the Jinx, so just really quickly, when the movie All Good Things came out, which is a dramatized depiction of Robert Durst's life.
Yeah, from the family's perspective, from
Yes.
Cathy McCormick.
From Cathy's perspective,
Yeah.
that's right. The director of that movie was Jarecki.
Yeah.
And when Bob saw the movie, he reached out to Jarecki and like wanted to talk to him about it. That's when they did that commentary for the movie.
Yeah.
And then Jarecki was like, oh, do you reckon you might want to, like, maybe we could do a documentary about this if you're willing to
Well, I think
participate.
it was even sort of less to it than like, let's just sit down and keep talking
what
and see what
happens.
happens. He didn't really know where it was going to go.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this
Yeah.
footage, this audio.
So
like,
what they've been able to do is create the Jinx, what is it called? The life and deaths of Robert Durst. And so Jarecki, he knows everything there is to know really about this.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
at the end of season 1, what Jarecki says is, they've gotten everything out of him that they can. They've asked him the difficult questions. They prepped so much for this. And they've asked him the question about the cadaver note and the Beverly Hills, the handwriting stuff. And the sound, so they've finished filming, according to them. Bob says he needs to go to the toilet, and the audio guy takes his headphones off, but Bob's still got his microphone on, so
Yeah.
it's still hot mic'd. It's on,
Yeah.
but no one's actually listening to anything
Nah.
because they've technically finished.
They've finished filming. They
Filming.
were just packing up all the equipment. Like,
Yeah.
everything was getting packed away. They just hadn't disconnected the
his
mic yet.
microphone yet.
Yeah. So a year later, they've got someone going through the footage, like, to just sort of tie
Well,
things up.
they're editing.
Yeah,
to-
editing together the show.
Yeah.
And they had one person who was sitting through listening to every bit of everything to like make sure there was a snippet somewhere that they couldn't use, etc. And buried in all of this, she found that that little bit of audio from at the end of that day where he says, "Kill them all, of course." Like, oh fuck.
Yeah, and that was like a cliffhanger that the season ended on. Like, Yeah.
Just crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically we've got Morris Black where he has been acquitted of his murder, but we know he did it. And then there's still Susan Berman who killed her, and Cathy is still missing. We come back for season 2, I guess, of the Jinx, also at this point with all these cliffhangers of like, what are the police going to do with this information? Turns out really none of that stuff from the Jinx really got used in the ultimate trial, but it basically sparked them to start investigating again and really like look into further what happened to Susan Berman. And the prosecutor, he is brilliant, absolutely
I love
amazing.
him.
I love him. Such a down-to-earth guy, but very switched on and intelligent. He knew this case inside and out. If anyone knew this case more than Andrew Jarecki, it was this guy. Like, he was so good. So they go basically find enough that they go and charge him for Susan Berman's murder, and they link it to her having knowledge of Cathy McCormick. So at the same time as being convicted, if they could convict him for Susan Berman's murder, it also does relate to a conviction for Cathy McCormick. So they bring him in and they charge him. They have to extradite him from where was he at that point? I can't remember.
He was in Galveston.
He was still in Galveston at that point, was he?
Yep.
So they had to extradite him from there back to New York. To California for that, because that's where Susan Berman was murdered.
Yep.
And they put him on trial for this, for Susan Berman. And that's a hell of a trial. I mean, God. And he's old at this point. Well, he's not, to be honest, he's not that old. He's in his 70s, but he looks like he's in his 90s. Like, he is not
He looks so
good.
unwell.
Yeah.
I think they say he's got bladder cancer. Whether that's true or not, I'm not 100% sure. He had a catheter in for all of his court appearances.
He shaved his head so that you could see, like he had a, what do you call it?
A scar.
No, there was he had not a stent, because that's what you put in your heart.
No, it is. It was a stent.
A stent?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right, yeah. So he had a stent and he shaved his head so you could see that more. Like, like really.
He's just a fucking weird dude.
Yeah.
And he also wore like really, really oversized clothes to make himself look smaller and more frail.
Yeah.
And he looks like if he stood up, he'd bloody snap in half.
Yeah.
There's nothing of him. He's
No.
incredibly thin at this point.
Yeah.
And he looks so unwell. Like even his mouth, I think he must not be wearing dentures or something, because you know that really sallow sunken in look that people get when they don't have their dentures in. Like, it really reminds me of my beautiful grandma.
Yeah.
The odd occasion I'd see her without her teeth in, and she always looked so different, but it made her look so much older.
And so much older,
And so I think he's doing
we
that.
did a lot of that, I think, for the jury's, benefit.
Oh, for sympathy, absolutely.
At the trial, for sure. And that's where, but, I mean, he didn't live for long after that trial, though, either.
No.
So
he was convicted of Susan Berman's murder in that trial.
Yeah.
And before he was able to get to sentencing, wasn't it?
yes.
So he was never sentenced for that
Unfortunately,
murder.
he was never sentenced, and therefore, and because he passed away, similar to what we talked about with the Aaron Hernandez case,
Yep.
that conviction disappears.
Yep.
Because he didn't go through the appeal process.
Yep.
Which I think that's bullshit.
It's bullshit.
Yeah. So he's got away with murder.
He's got away with murder, and because he didn't live long enough, it's not like they were going to indict him for the murder of Cathy as well.
Yeah.
But because he didn't live long enough, actually, did they indict him in the end? But they just never got to trial.
Civilly.
I think. Yeah.
No, only civilly. They've there was so the McCormicks still to this day are fighting a civil trial, a civil case against his estate for the wrongful death of Cathy McCormick.
I hope they get all his money.
I hope they do.
I know it won't make any difference.
No,
Like, it's not going to
but
bring
it's not
her
about
back,
that, and
but-
it's not about that for the family either.
No, I know.
They want him just held accountable. I mean, I know, and I fully agree with them. He has used his money to this point to get away with it, and he shouldn't. But the other person that, I mean, in this is the second wife, Deborah Lee, who is now, like, what do you call it, trustee of his estate.
Yeah. Well, she was his executor and sole beneficiary of his estate.
She knows shit.
Yeah.
She is, I mean, she's got a legal team behind her now.
Yeah.
Well, all
And a
through
lot of
this. All access to his money. It's all, so, she's a piece of shit.
She's a total piece of shit.
And she's fighting this civil case. Whereas this is where it shits me, the whole Durst family, where they all know who Robert Durst is. They know.
I mean, his brothers have both been deposed in these cases, and they say it. They're like, they know that he's done this shit.
Oh, absolutely. The younger brother, Thomas, particularly.
Yeah.
I mean, Douglas, I think, is a bit, I don't know. Whereas Thomas was more open in respect to talking about the family. Whereas Douglas is more closed off and doesn't want to talk about it.
I feel like Douglas is, because of the position he holds in the company, he just does not want to have a bar of what the fuck Robert has done, because you can imagine that for their business that is less than ideal.
But at the same time, it's shit as it is. Like, everyone knows that they're hiding someone that they shouldn't. Whereas if they just came out and said...
he has publicly condemned Robert for what he's done.
Yeah.
Douglas.
But then they should back that in terms of the McCormick family too.
Absolutely.
And apologise to them.
Or assist them in pursuing Robert Durst's estate.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And just, you know what? Get rid of it. Like, sort it out. Support them. That's what it really bugs me.
I agree.
And that they've doubled down on that and done the whole like, oh, no, we protect the Durst name. You're not. The Robert Durst is still, you know, that name will still forever blacken everything. He's still there. You've got to rise above it and be better than that to get rid of that mark on your name.
Yeah.
But yeah, Thomas, his deposition is very interesting to listen to. He, again, very scared of Robert Durst. At one stage, because at this time, Robert Durst is in the room whilst Thomas is testifying.
Can you imagine? That would be so intimidating.
Well, the lawyer even says to him, "I'm sorry, but do you feel uncomfortable with Robert being in the room when you're doing this?" And he was like, "Yeah, this is really not okay. Tough. I don't feel safe." Like, horrible. That's your brother.
That's your brother. Oh.
Yeah, yeah. He only remembers a snippet of time in 1970. Like, he pins it down to a time in 1970 when Robert Durst was nice to him.
A time.
Absolutely awful. And he speaks so beautifully of Cathy.
Yeah.
He wishes he knew her better. Like, he says in his deposition that he didn't know her well because he didn't have the time to get to know her because Robert wouldn't allow it. But he said she was just a lovely woman to be around and enjoyed her company. And he actually used to read her assignments for her her medical studies and things. He's a very intelligent man, and she trusted him to read her assignments and her applications for medical school too.
Oh wow!
He proofread them all and stuff for her, and he said she was an incredibly intelligent person that they could really converse over those things. But Robert was awful.
Yeah, I mean, he did that classic thing. He isolated her.
Yeah.
He removed her, like, even her family. Her brother says that, you know, where they were so incredibly close. I mean, it's not like they lost the bond they had, but they certainly lost some of the closeness they had because Robert kept her from them.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, he was just so controlling in so many ways.
Yeah.
Can we just talk really, really quickly about Stuart Altman and Emily Altman?
Oh, yeah, I know who you mean now. Yes.
Yeah, so Stuart Altman is Bob's high school friend.
Yep.
And I think Bob's only real lifelong friend.
Yeah.
You know, so Obviously Susan Berman, they were friends for a long time.
Yeah.
That was like
university.
Post-college.
Yeah.
Whereas Stuart's known him from a much younger age.
Yeah.
Stuart married a woman named Emily, and they stood by Bob through all of his shit.
Yeah, he was his lawyer.
Yeah, so Stuart Altman was a lawyer, but he wasn't a criminal lawyer. He was, I don't even know what he did. He was just a small town
lawyer,
sort of lawyer. I don't know what he did.
Yeah, I almost want to say almost conveyancer.
Something like that. Just like, you know.
Yeah.
But he claimed attorney-client privilege when he was deposed, and his wife also claimed privilege because apparently attorney-client privilege extends to all staff members of a law firm, so it's not just the lawyer involved in the case.
Yeah.
So she worked there like a day a week or something. So she
actually
claimed
did,
that
yeah.
as well. No.
Yeah.
But so she claimed that she had privilege as well. But in the trial for Susan Berman, now Emily
This is really the nail in his coffin.
Yeah, this was the nail in his coffin. Emily was called to testify, and well, actually both were. Stuart testified first, and
Oh, isn't that an interesting, when he's up on the stand, it shit me.
Yeah, because he like bloody talks to the judge and he's like,
Do I have to answer
do
that?
I have to answer that? Do I have to, well, I don't know what to say to that. And, oh, he can't ask me that, can he?
I love
like,
the judge. The judge's
the
response
judge
is like, get
no,
to it, mate.
Yeah, hurry up. And then, he even says to the judge, can't we hurry this along? And he's like, yeah, answer the question and then we can move this along.
Yeah. I think he goes, I've got to be, in New York tomorrow.
In 2 days?
Like,
yeah. Like,
well, then
okay,
answer the question.
The fucking question and we can move on. Anyway, then after, he did not really reveal or give any information that was useful at all, but then Emily comes on the stand next. And the prosecutor, I've just lost his name.
Lewin, yeah.
He was awesome. He backed her into a corner. Like, he knew that she knew stuff.
But he didn't know what she knew.
No.
I love that.
So it's funny because his co-counsel, who was sitting there like helping him like with the questions, and they'd prepped all of this stuff, and his co-counsel's interviewed and he's like, I didn't know where he was taking this, and then it's not on the running sheet, and I didn't know what he was doing, and I didn't know like how to help him. Like, we hadn't prepped for this. But he basically, like, he figures by an answer that she says that she knows more about Robert's whereabouts, because at this point they hadn't put together that Robert was definitely in California.
They could only place him in California, in San Francisco. They couldn't place him in LA.
Yeah.
And that was what the missing piece was. If they could have someone identify the fact that he was in LA on that date, bang. He definitely he was there to murder her then, right? Kind of thing. Yeah. So he was just hoping that she knew something.
Yeah. And it got to the point where he's like, so this goes on for many, many minutes, like probably 15 or 20 minutes, where he's he's asking her more questions and more leading questions and leading and leading. And eventually she says, yes, he was in LA on the night of Susan
and
Berman's death.
how she knew that or something like. But she says it like in a way of like that it's not important information.
But yeah, because she doesn't know what that means. She hasn't put it together.
And then Robert Durst, his interview of that, of like, not his interview, but it's his recording of in the jail when he rings someone and he goes, that fucking Emily, she's such an idiot.
He goes, she's so stupid.
Oh God! But he loves them. They're such a good friend, such a lovely friend. She's a fucking idiot.
Yeah. So like turns on her on a dime. She's been loyal to him forever. She didn't know she was putting him in. She actually
didn't know. You can tell from like how she answers it. She then
bursts into tears.
Yeah, that she twigs.
Because the prosecutor then says to her, "Do you realise that Bob has never admitted to being in LA on that night?" And she goes, "No, I didn't." Oh. And she burst into tears. So she's like, fuck, I have fucked him over here.
Yeah. She still got Alexis out of it.
Yeah, she got Alexis. Oh, whatever. And I'm sure other things as well.
Oh, well, plenty of money.
Doubt.
Yeah.
Plenty of money.
Yeah. But it's gone now.
But have you seen she visits Bob in prison pre-trial, and she goes to see him and he's like, oh, stand up for me. And she stands up and moves back. And then she gets back on the phone because it's one of those, they both have to have the phone in order to talk to one another. And he goes, you look so sexy. And he goes, does Stuart tell you you're sexy? And she goes, oh, no, we've been married for 30 years. Of course he doesn't tell me I'm sexy. And he's like, well, you are.
If a friend of mine, like, husband,
yuck.
if said that to me.
You would never go to their house
Oh,
again,
my God, no. I'm sorry. No.
Yuck.
No. I'd be going home to my husband saying, your mate just said this, like, oh, no.
I don't want anything to do with him. That is so inappropriate.
What a line across.
But she loved it.
Oh, she loved it. She absolutely loved it.
Yuck.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yuck.
But it's the same as his, like, little piece on the side. Like, that he had. She's interesting too. There was Susan, I want to say her name was. I can't remember.
It wasn't S name.
It was,
But yeah, he was having, like, he just constantly cheated on.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't cheating on Deborah Lee because she has a partner that she lives with in the city in New York.
Boyfriend.
Yeah.
And he's known to Bob.
Openly.
Yeah.
They know each other. Like, there's one phone call where he rings the house to speak to Deborah and the boyfriend answers the phone and he goes, oh, hey, Bob. No, it's whatever his name is. It's Tim. I don't know. I can't remember what his name was. Oh, it's Tim, mate. Oh, I'll go get her for you.
Yeah.
So, and then you hear him call out in the background, Han, it's Bob.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's your wife you're calling. Like,
but not really
no. But yeah, because
as we said,
and openly, like they would go out to charity events, etc. All that together. Those two as a couple, like people knew that they were together. But she was still legally married to Bob.
Yep.
Yeah. God.
I just wrote down another quote.
Oh, yeah.
So when Bob's on trial, he ends up taking the stand, and which was, I don't think his lawyers wanted him to. So in the
right.
Jinx, they're
Oh, yeah.
interviewed and they're like, they don't say it, but you can tell that it wasn't the way they wanted it to go.
Yeah.
But he decided he wanted to take the stand because he wanted the attention.
Absolutely.
And the prosecutor says to him, if you killed her, would you tell us? So this is in the trial of Susan Berman, obviously. If you killed her, would you tell us? And he goes, no. And he goes, so you're essentially perjuring yourself. Yeah. Like, he just openly admits to the fact that he would never admit to it. Then he says, have you lied in court? And he goes, yes. I'm like, for fuck's sake, dude. So, and then the prosecutor's incredulous at that. He's like, but so you're telling us under oath that you have perjured yourself. Is that your testimony? And he goes, yes. I'm like, for fuck's sake, what is with this bloke? He just doesn't give a shit.
No. He's more intelligent than all
I
of
think he
them.
knows he's dying too.
This is the thing. That's it. I think that honestly, not that he would give away anything,
No.
but if you're going to work it out on your own, you can have it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. He played it. He was playing them the whole time. And
Yeah, this was just one big lifelong game for him.
Yeah. Although, was this the only game? So there are inferences that potentially he murdered more people. So it's being investigated cold cases by the FBI that potentially he could be linked to the murders of Lynn Schultz from Mulberry, Vermont, who was 18 years old at the age of at her disappearance. Karen Mitchell from Eureka, California. And also Kristen Modafferi, who was 18, from San Francisco. And all these occurred in 1997.
So these were all young women, weren't
Yeah,
they?
they were all young women. So the FBI are looking into these cases. They haven't been able to link him entirely to this day, but there certainly is connections to these deaths. He has definitely interacted with each of these people. They can certainly pinpoint that.
I think the thing that they're not, so with the other three murders, there's motive there and like a known and strong motive.
Yeah.
I think with these ones, they're like, well, is this random? Like, has he just escalated? Like, what is the motive? Why has he killed these women?
Yeah.
If it is him.
Because there was, like, obviously with Cathy, there's motive in terms of, like, he wanted out of the marriage and she was asking for money and he didn't want to deal with it.
Yep.
You know, Susan Berman knew stuff about Cathy's murder and she was going to blab to the cops. So there's a motive for that one. Maurice Black, we don't quite have motive, but quite possibly he was going to expose that Robert Durst was there in Galveston. He was hiding out. There's quite possibly easily motive there that you could find in terms of his murder. Whereas these random sort of women, there's not those immediate possibilities of a motive. So he's been looked into for the Long Island serial killer as well. So he's not just murdered people he knows, is what I'm trying to get at, is that potentially there's more to it than that. There's been investigations also that have traced Durst operating under stolen identities in Texas, Florida, Massachusetts, New Jersey, South Carolina, Mississippi and Virginia. So he was well known for having lots of different identities around, which could mean that he's, operating under the radar and potentially has murdered more.
Yeah,
which that's scary as fuck.
I don't know if we'll ever get conclusions to any of that.
I don't think we'll ever know, but he's one creepy weird ass dude.
He's so weird.
So yeah.
Just if you haven't seen what he looks like and what his demeanor is, please just Google, even just watch 5 minutes of footage because even his mannerisms, the way, just all of him, he's just a weird. And don't you reckon his eyes are just evil?
Yes. Oh, they're black.
They're black. It's weird really because he's fair.
Yeah.
But his eyes are black. It creeps me out.
I do, and I find this really, like, I agree with like Andrew Jarecki's take on this in terms of like when they worked out this connection of like that cadaver note that they had him, that it was his handwriting, it was him with the same spelling mistake, all that kind of stuff. He was saying like he didn't want to present that almost to him because he liked him. He he's an endearing, he's piss funny. Like he doesn't know he is.
Yeah.
Like you watch that
like
Jinx
the bar.
and I mean freaking hell, those conversations and stuff. There's something about him that you kind of also go, oh God, he's fucking weird, but he's such a diddery old man. Like you know, like and you kind of like him.
Yeah.
You want but
then you know he's evil.
A whole other level of creep as well.
Yeah.
I guess it's just that intriguing human.
Yeah.
Like he's intriguing.
Yeah, very much so.
I mean, I'd love to sit down and talk to him because I think that, not that I can now, obviously, but he's a very interesting person.
Yeah.
Look, but behind bars, please.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He's deceased now, but he would have to have been in prison for the rest of his life because there was no reform for him.
No way. I mean, this is it.
No
like,
way.
I mean, whether he just killed these 3 people that we've spoken about clearly today, or whether there is a whole nother level of serial killer kind of in him, not the person
Regardless,
you want to be around.
Not he wouldn't have been able to have been rehabilitated.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would definitely. At 105, he could kill someone again, I reckon. That's what I kind of, at one stage I was like, oh, his brothers are like so scared of him murdering him, and you kind of see this old man like walking around the city like limping, along and that, and you think, how can he be scared of that? Like, what is he going to do? I reckon he'd find a way.
Yeah. He was cunning.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
Do you think we leave it there? As we said, there is so much more to this case. I've got pages and pages of notes that we haven't even touched on.
I've just got Peter in the back of my head going, have we told people where the body is?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
There was only one other thing that his brother came out with. Oh, my God. Okay. This is really gross. So his brother, actually, in that one of the depositions, so this is Douglas, the other brother, he told a story of that he believed that Robert Durst killed 6 of his dogs in practice before he killed Cathy.
I did not know that.
So the jurors heard a recorded phone call between Durst and his second wife in which he talks of Igoring his younger brother, Douglas Durst, right? Igor is the name of Durst's dog. Douglas Durst, the head of the Durst real estate empire in New York, says Robert Durst killed 7 dogs named Igor as practice.
He had 7 dogs with the same name?
Yeah, I find that even like I think he like replaced it once he killed it so that you never saw that there was more than one dog.
Oh, I did not know that.
No, that was just yeah. They were Alaskan Malamutes, which I know he's known for having. Yeah, and it was named Igor.
And oh my God.
He killed and disposed of the bodies of the dogs.
Well, there's that escalation again then, isn't it?
Yeah. Prior to killing Cathy. Yeah. So that's just an accusation by his brother, but there's a definite phone call that is
and he's
on
like,
record.
I'm going to Igor you.
I'm going to
Igor
he talks about
Douglas.
Igoring
Yeah.
his brother Douglas.
Yeah, okay. Oh, fuck. That is so fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Gross.
Totally
Don't kill
gross.
a dog. That's awful.
Oh.
Yeah.
No. On that note, let's leave it there. I just noticed the time and it has been a long one. Anyway, thank you to everybody who's gotten to the end of this episode. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Don't forget, as always, to subscribe if you haven't already or hit that follow button in your podcasting app. And if you would like to buy us a coffee or a wine, head to the link in our bio. So it's buymeacoffee.com/2crimebesties.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. Stay curious, crime besties.
Bye.